Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started then. As the slide should show you, we're going to cover two topics today. One is outsourcing, and when I cover that one, I'll cover with you how to avoid a few headaches. Not many. I've not had many problems with outsourcing during my many years of dealing with outsourced employees. They're virtual employees. They're not really employees that are on your payroll, so you don't have to worry about benefits and all those things. They're just virtual employees. Typically, there's no long-term contract or any of that. It's just people you found that you work with. And then we're going to talk about how to crank up the process of ranking and renting your websites. And I see why I misspelled a couple of words, but that's okay too. Okay, the first question you'll probably have is where to find people to outsource to. And for that, I recommend that you start just with your friends and online business contacts. Ask them for recommendations, telling them what you're looking for, and just ask whom they work with and whom they're happy with. Most people aren't going to recommend somebody that they're dissatisfied with, so that there's built-in checks to keep them from recommending somebody that they don't like, unless for some reason they don't like you, and then they want to get even with you, I guess. But online friends, it's just like asking a neighbor who they use for a dentist or to mow the lawn or whatever. And I personally see nothing wrong with asking in a Facebook group that you belong to. I do that all the time. I ask, for recommendations as to software that does certain jobs or people that do certain jobs, or I recently asked about recommendations for hosting companies because I have dedicated servers and haven't had a need to go out and get new servers for myself in years. And but I have people asking me, so who do I recommend as a host? And rather than me saying, well, I've heard good things about this host or that host, or recommending hosts that I looked at years ago, I thought it was more expeditious just to ask in a Facebook group and on my Facebook wall who people were using and who they recommended and why. And that shortcut the process for me, because then I could quickly check out the ones that the most people whose opinions I valued the most, because I knew a lot about their backgrounds and things like that. I weighed those recommendations, and then I went and I found a couple of hosts I checked out and then recommended to clients. I see nothing wrong with that. And that last bullet is talking about, actually it's in the wrong place. It's talking about recommending somebody that you use or you rely on who's also really, really, really busy. Because when you recommend someone that you really, really, really rely on and you need them, if too many other people start using them, they'll tie them up, and all of a sudden your expert is not available. For example, the transcriptionist I use is extremely good. He used to work for a friend who ran a transcription service, and he no longer works for her. So I hired him, but he has so many very large clients who give him, they'll give him 30 hours worth of audio to transcribe at one time, and so he's very busy. But he fit me in. So if I recommend him to others, then if he fits them in, he may not be as available to me. So that's the danger in recommending people that you use for certain things. Here, I recommend using online discussion forums or marketplaces. I sometimes use the Internet Marketing Warrior discussion forum. That was a community that I joined around 2000, and around 2010 or so, I volunteered to be a moderator for the group. The moderators, sort of like the police in the group, that kept the discussion on track and on topic, and kept people from playing games and trying to trick people out of their money. So the moderators sort of monitor the conversation all over the forum and ban people for breaking the rules and things like that. I was the police and the authority on that site for a long time. That site is at warriorforum.com, warriorforum.com, and I do recommend that you check it out. Again, I was a member there for forever, and my slides are fighting with me. In fact, it's probably easier just to stay in this view. Because what I want to do is I want to paste some of the URLs I give you into the chat window. And this is one of them. And they'll all be in my notes anyway, but why not post it in the chat window? So this is warriorforum.com. Pasted it twice, I guess. And if you go there, it's a forum that's visited by millions of people regularly, but a lot of the people who visit aren't registered members, and so you don't really know how many people are reading all the posts. But when I joined, it was something like 30,000 registered members, and it gradually crept up to where it was over a million people. And last time I looked at it, the site didn't show across the bottom like they used to what the total membership was, the total active membership. But visit the site, and I'd like for you to register as a member there. It's free. And then after you register, then look around. You don't have to register, but it's better to be a registered member. And look around, and I want you to navigate across the top menu bar. You'll navigate to where it says Marketplace. That's across the very top menu bar. Click on Marketplace, and you'll get a drop-down menu. And from that drop-down menu, select Warriors for Hire. And when you select Warriors for Hire, what you're going to see there is threads where people have offered their services, and they state what they're offering. They state, their prices and how long their turnaround time is and all that. And what you'll have in those threads is you'll have sometimes you'll see a thread that had 1,000 views or whatever and 200 responses. What you're seeing is other people who read an offer someone post that said, "I'll do a job for you." And there's other portions of the forum where people do the same thing. There's one section called Warrior Special Offer where people list items they have for sale at special prices that are only available to members of the forum. Other people give feedback on the thread, and they'll say, "I bought this and it doesn't work," or "It's overpriced," or whatever, or "I really loved it." And so on any of those threads you read on the forum, and I encourage you to take time to check that out. That's one of those resources that it really is worth putting in the time just to check it out. If you're not already familiar with it, and if you are familiar with it, again, go to warriorforum.com, register if you're not already a member, navigate to the Marketplace, which is a link across the top of the screen. And from there, in the drop-down menu, select Warriors for Hire, and then read some of the threads. And you'll find people offering all kinds of services from programming, website design, and building and maintaining websites and web hosting and graphics and ghostwriting, you name it. There's somebody there who's offering that service. What you really have on this forum is you have a microcosm of the world of people looking for ways to make money, basically. A lot of them, I may have put that in my next bullet. Yeah. I said I want you to join the forum, look around and everything. But you've got some very talented people, but many of them have never earned any real money online. Many of them come from very, very poor countries where $2 a day is considered being rich. And a lot of these people are supporting their entire families off of the meager existence they managed to eke out from hanging out at a place like the Warrior Forum. So you've had people who are really, really good at graphic arts, or really, really good at setting up and managing websites. And a lot of them, for whatever reason, they're hanging out on the forum. Some of them, a lot of them are American, but a lot of them have never made any money. So a word of caution there is pay attention to what they say about the goods and services and the feedback you get from the members, but be very, very careful about the advice that you take about making money online from that forum, because, again, a lot of people on that forum have never really made any money. anything worth talking about. Like in 2006, a long time ago, I went on the forum and I posted a rhetorical question. How many of you here on the forum would be happy to make to know how to make $100 per day online if it only took you 1 or 2 hours a day to do it? And that was a rhetorical question because I knew that fully 95% of the people on the line on that forum weren't making $100 per day online. That's $3,000 a month. And I received, I don't know, about 3,000 responses to my post, a rhetorical question. And they all said, some said I'd be happy with $50 a day or $25 a day. And so I went back to a private membership site I had called the Internet Marketing Inner Circle, and I posted, hey guys, why don't we write an ebook that outlines ways where people can make at least $100 per day online. And I'm reading a note from Dave Willis, but I'm not sure what it means. But I posted, why don't we write an ebook that tells people how to make at least $100 per day online? And I had 18 people chime in and say, I'll write a chapter. And one person said, I'm not good at writing ebooks, but I'll be the person to coordinate the project. And then he said, I'll write a chapter. And then another person said, I'll set up the site where we sell the ebook. And we did that. We released a book called 20 Ways to Make $100 per Day Online. I wrote 2 chapters, and my friend Dr. Manny ended up writing 2 chapters too. And that book, I don't know, it sold like $180,000 worth of copies in short term, and then it needs updating, so don't look for that online anymore. But that's how I learned that these people on the Warrior Forum weren't making a lot of money, and I solved that problem. And in the process of solving the problem, wrote out a product. You can do outsourcing using companies that bring employees together in one location to work in a supervised setting, and they'll give the employees a set number of hours and tell them when they can take breaks and things like that. These types of work centers, they charge more than if you went out and hired someone on your own because they have to pay for the overhead, which includes supervisors. My friend Davin Michaels, for example, I mentioned here, he owns the company 123employee.com, and they're operating out of Manila in the Philippines, if I remember correctly. I think he's still in Manila. They hire people to come in and sit at desk, and they have these headsets on, and their job is to do whatever they're hired to do. The majority of them are hired for telephone services, telemarketing, handling service calls, things along that line. But he does have people with other skills. And so if you go to his site, which is 123employee.com, that's 123employee.com, there's a form that you fill out requesting more information. And basically what they want to know is, what are you looking for? And then they can get back to you explaining what services they offer and what their normal rates are. His costs are more expensive, again, than if you went out and found someone on your own, which is what I've done all along. I do know Davin quite well. He runs a very good company, and if you don't feel like hiring someone on your own, you're still going to save money in the long term by going with a company like his, because he trains the employees or uses your checklist to train the employees, and then they're supervised, and they actually have video cameras in the room. And if you hire someone, you can actually contact them, and they will show you a video of your employee working, and then you can talk to your employee. You can discuss things with them right over something like Zoom or GoToWebinar. But you can see your virtual employee working right there in the room, and you can talk to them. And they're in the Philippines, but they work around the clock or different hours, and so they'll work the shift that's most convenient for you. I think that's the way Davin's working. And I haven't seen him in a while. He and I used to speak at a lot of the same seminars, but it's been a while since I've seen him. Moving on with my personal programmers, graphic artists, and webmasters. Most of my webmasters specialize in WordPress, but they can do almost any any language. And for those who want to work with my programmers and my people, I'll do a personal one-on-one invitation / introduction where I'll just like do an email that says, George meet Paul, Paul meet George. Paul is looking for someone to do this. George has done this for me in the past, and this is why I recommend him. That's the type of introduction that I do, and then I can stay on the introduction for as long as you want me to, and so in working with those people, I'll hang in the conversation. I'll watch the negotiating or whatever, and if there's questions that come up that you don't feel comfortable asking or answering, I can certainly jump in there. But as soon as I'm no longer needed, I will certainly butt out, But again, I know a lot of people. I've worked with a lot of people who've done things for me, and so I'm perfectly happy to introduce you to specific individuals with specific skill sets that you need, okay? Just let me know what you're looking for, and I'll reach out to some of those people. Many of them are my Facebook friends that I've known 2 or 3 decades, and I'll provide you and them, if it's I'll provide you with a checklist anyway, especially on how to construct the websites. And my checklists are based on the style of website that you're looking for. As mentioned in a previous webinar, I mentioned that you may want to do a directory style site where you list all the businesses in a location or a niche in one directory, and either charge a lower fee for just the basic listing, or you list them for free and then offer premium listings where you either put more information about businesses that pay for the listing, and up top you offer the top spot. You may offer a video and even more information about that specific business, and there you're either getting a little from a lot of businesses or a lot from one business, but you're hoping that one business maybe will want to rent the entire site and have the competition deleted from the directory, which isn't going to affect the directory ranking that much. Or you're hoping they'll offer to buy the site from you, in which case you think it over, and if I sold the site, would sell it for some multiple of what the monthly rental income would be. But I certainly see nothing wrong with selling a site, and you just you go with your gut feeling there. But I sold thousands of websites, including, I think the only one I sold, the highest price one I've sold thus far has been $5,000. But I have friends who've done them in my mentor, it went for $24,000, and other friends have done in the hundreds of thousands. I don't know anybody who's done one above $1 million yet, but I know people who've done them in the hundreds of thousands. So, that's something, if you want more information on, you can ask me. But I provide the checklist that tell your people step by step what needs to be done to set up the site, to include pointing them to templates. There are free templates and there are for sale templates. So I'll point you in my checklist, and I'll get those over to you guys either tonight or in the morning, actually. I'll point you to where I got my checklist from, all the ones that I use. Some are free, not all are free. There are premium ones that that if I looked long enough, I probably could have found a free one that did the same thing. It's just there's millions, literally millions of website templates out there, and you can type in free WordPress template, and you could spend weeks just sifting through the templates, looking for just the one that does what you want it to do, and you just pull out your hair. So what I've done at times is seen a website that I really liked, that was using the same business model that I wanted to use, and I'd reach out to them and say, well, first you can look in the footer of a lot of WordPress sites, and it'll tell you what template it's using. But if that template's been maybe modified, then where they've edited the code and removed the name and the link to the developer who created the thing, then I reach out to the webmaster and say, what theme you're using, and most will tell you. There's no reason for them not to. A lot of times when they remove that link that says X is the name of the theme, and it's provided by. They're doing that to prevent leakage from their website because they don't want people to go down to the bottom of the page and see that the theme is, whatever theme, and there's a link there to click on, and it takes traffic off to someone else's site, and they may not come back to the site they were interested in the first place. So a lot of webmasters and website owners will delete that from the website because of that. And Jill said you could also look at the page source code. You can do that too. David said I mentioned last week that Chester Lawyer was built on the Point Pro theme, and it looks drastically different in its initial view. It is that flexible, and if you know what you're doing, you can go into the code and you can change things around. I mean, you can cut and paste pieces of code in your HTML, cut and paste pieces of the HTML or the PHP code and move it around, and that will change elements on the page. Most WordPress themes are fully editable if you know what you're doing. WordPress is built on open source code. It's designed so that anyone can download the basic version of WordPress and modify the WordPress program itself, but they can also build plugins that hitch into the WordPress architecture. But it's open source code so that anyone can work with it and work around it. And William says he prefers HTML. No, Dave says he prefers HTML. I'll show you some HTML templates too that you can work with. A lot of people like HTML editors and work with HTML. There are, well, with HTML and WordPress, you can, with a WordPress setup, you can paste HTML code into a page and it'll look the same as if you were working with the back end of the WordPress architecture. You just go to the text view rather than the WYSIWYG view, or the view that shows you exactly what it's going to look like, and you paste it into the text view, and then when you save it, it functions the same as HTML. And it just depends on what you're most comfortable working with. I mean, I use an HTML editor all the time, and so I'm very comfortable. But I've been doing web pages for over 20 years, and I used to code in just text files, so I know what's going on behind the scenes, but I choose not to do that myself or to keep up with what's going on there, because then I'd spend all my time doing that rather than doing things that I enjoy more, such as learning sales psychology and things like that. So anyway, I'll find some templates then that aren't HTML, if you prefer aren't WordPress themes, but they're templates instead that you can just install on a basic website, just basic index page and some pages off to the side. And actually, I know of one place that lets you do that from one platform that doesn't require hosting. So I'll show you that too. I'll get that to you. That was that was Dave Willis that wanted that. So I'll get that information to you, and I'll get it to your other guys too. But I'll get it to Dave. Make sure I get it to him because he requested it. Right. You can also visit online jobs boards and hire directly from the listings there. Your first decision, and for some people one they agonize the most over is what country do I hire people from? As an American, I understand some people who think I'm hiring an American because I want to protect American jobs, and there are people who only buy American cars and only buy American this and American that. But I won't get into the politics, but Americans charge a lot more, and some of that's based on things like unions holding the wages up, and a lot of people work in a lot of other countries where they don't have the same things, and so you can hire people in some countries who work for as little as $2 an hour. The first time I hired a worker from the Philippines, I was paying $300 a month for 40 hours a week, and this person was making more than they would make working for a Filipino employer or a factory even in the Philippines, or an office job. Some of those people were at that time were making like $30 a week maybe. Uh, and there are lots of jobs in the Philippines for college graduates that still pay that little. So you'd be shocked. And so, it's a economic choice, and it's a political choice, I guess, too, and one of patriotism and all that. So you ask yourself, do I want to hire just people from my country, or do I want to hire people from around the world that have equal or even better skills in some cases, but cost less? So that's your decision there. I feel that we live in a world economy, and that I should hire the best talent, and at the same time I should help my fellow countrymen maybe to get training in jobs that they can in marketplace where they can compete better in the world economy, without the artificial trade tariffs and things like that. So that's the topic of another discussion. But for most outsourced work, I don't feel that the country that the person lives in matters much, as long as the quality and the reliability of the employee is the same. Now, I mentioned the companies that are really sweatshops often advertise on these jobs boards too. And one company that comes to mind is I had a client who hired someone out of a former Soviet bloc nation, and the guy was doing programming, and he was doing a beautiful, beautiful job. And the programming was supposed to last for several months as they kept improving the code and testing things. Had beta testers out running all kinds of tests on the platform. And suddenly, this guy was no longer reachable. And what had happened was he had a boss who was shifting him between jobs. And when this boss looked at another job on Horizon that offered to pay more, he pulled the programmer who created the software that powered the platform off that job and put him on another job. So, it can be tricky. That's why I prefer dealing directly with the worker rather than some company, because in some cases, you're not dealing with the person, and the person has no say over what they do or when they work on your project or anything else. They just contacted some company to offer them a job. They took the job and they do what they're told to do. See, for most writing jobs, like writing articles or writing copy, and for most voice talents, I personally only want a native English speaker, and usually from the U.S., the U.K., Canada, or Australia. You've got some really good English speakers in other countries, but if you go to some place like India, they speak the Queen's English, and so they're going to use expressions that Americans, U.S. citizens, wouldn't typically use. They'll say, shall and shan't, and then they spell things differently too, some words. So if you're hiring someone to write for you, I go with the U.S. or Canadian or Australian, British, or sometimes maybe from Singapore. Those people all write the same English. I outsource, personally, most jobs to either India or the Philippines. Both countries have well-educated people. There are more people who speak English in India than there are in the United States, believe it or not. And they do excellent work for a fraction of the price that U.S. workers charge. So again, that's based on your preferences. I have two programmers that are U.S. based, and they both charge me around $75 per hour for programming. And one who's extremely good, he is semi-retired, so he's created a number of pieces of software for me. But when I want him to work on it, he's like, Willie, I'm playing with my grandkid, So, but we're close friends, so he'll come out of retirement to work for me. And they're very fast, and they create top quality work. It's just that, at $75 an hour, it depends on what you're getting done. With these guys, I'm having custom programming done, so that's different. But you can get the same talent in India or the Philippines or Eastern Europe for a fraction of the price. So it's just food for thought. I mean, price is not everything, but, all things being equal, I go with the best value, if you will. I personally favor Philippine workers over workers from India, and that's for two reasons. One is because I've lived in the Philippines and I understand the culture. I'm married to a person from the Philippines. I better understand the culture, and we've been married since 1986. And I've known her family since '85. But I've also been stationed there at Clark Air Base in the Philippines, where I mingled with the culture, and I go back periodically. I speak the language, so I understand the culture very deeply. I understand the thinking process. The Philippines was also a former U.S. colony in, what was that, the Spanish-American War, I think it was. Well, in 1898, the American fleet sailed into Manila Bay, engaged the Spanish. We sunk the Spanish fleet in the war, in the bay right there. We took over the Philippines, and it became a U.S. colony. We were into colonialism back then, and they stayed a U.S. colony till the 1950s, if memory serves me correct, when we gave them their freedom. But we stayed there, maintained a military presence there, and that was one of our best bases in the Pacific until they kicked us out in the late 80s, when they said, we're tired of being a colony or a puppet to the U.S., so you Americans are invited to leave. And that's when my unit packed up all of our airplanes and moved to Japan. But we got to go back down to the Philippines all the time, and I still go there as often as I can. So I'm very partial to the Philippines. Workers from India, very, very intelligent, hardworking, college graduates, like I said. But some of them, they'll look at the wages you're paying them for the work they're doing, and they'll notice your system, your business plan or whatever, and they'll say, why am I working for so little when I could do what I'm doing for myself and make more money? And so they will sometimes learn your system, your project, and create something similar for themselves. Workers from the Philippines, on the other hand, they prefer being able to say, I have a job, I have a secure job working for some foreigner, some American or German or Australian or whatever, and they like to brag to their friends, I have a job, I have a secure job. Now, I know that there is no such thing as a secure job, that any business can go out of business in the blink of an eye, and yet they do like feeling that having what they think is a job security. So they're not going to quit on you usually. If they quit on you, it's because they probably felt that they did something that caused them to lose face or something like that. Like something that they won't even tell you. Some reason they won't even tell you why they quit. They just disappear. But they're very good employees. I've had some working for me 5 to 10 years. I learned everything that I know about hiring virtual employees living in the Philippines from a guy named John Jonas. He runs the website replacemyself.com. John's story is, probably about 15 years ago, his wife was pregnant with, I think it was their third child, and she had some medical condition. I think it was called dysplasia, but I'm not sure. But the doctor put her on bed rest, and he told her and her husband that if she didn't stay in bed for the remainder of her pregnancy or move around very little, she was probably not only going to lose the child, but she was probably going to die. John listened to that, and he said, I'll stay home and I'll take care of you. And he totally devoted his time to his wife, and he turned to a couple of his Filipino employees that were doing just a little bit of work for him, and he said, I'm going to lean on you guys heavier. He said, I'm going to trust you and your judgment to take care of some things and not constantly be asking me for every little step of the way. And lo and behold, his Filipino employees not only did the job and kept his companies running, but they increased the profits he was making. They implemented a few things and then told him about them later that grew and improved upon his business. And when he went back and he saw what they'd done, he said, why the heck am I, working so hard? And he kept turning more and more and more things over to his Filipino employees. And that's why he calls his website Replace Myself, because he teaches you how to quite literally replace yourself with virtual employees that you find that you train properly and you test and you know that you can trust them. Now, I've gone through John's training numerous times. I used to keep a cassette in my, a MP3 in my cell phone, and I'd listen to it while I was out walking, and it was John telling his story and teaching you different things that you need to know about hiring overseas workers and in particular Filipino workers. And I'm pasting the URL. I'm trying to, yeah, into the window, and that URL is to register for a free webinar, and it placed it twice again for some reason. Free webinar that John offers, and if you go to that URL to register for it, he's got it configured so that it offers you that webinar on that day at a specified time, and he doesn't give you a bunch of other times. I don't know why he's got it set up that way, but that's how he has it set up. But in that webinar, he teaches you a lot of things about hiring Filipino workers in particular, but some of those things could apply to other countries. I've gone through the webinar several times and learned a lot from it, and consider myself a bit an expert on hiring virtual employees from the Philippines, hiring and firing them. I've fired a couple, and I think I have that in my slide somewhere. But John also offers his webinar training on Facebook. That second link I just posted that ends in 2H. That is the same webinars hosted on the Facebook platform. So if you don't want to leave Facebook, you don't have to. You can watch it there. And I do highly recommend that you visit John's site, watch his webinar, register for the webinar, watch it. And he has two ebooks or reports that I'm going to recommend that you download. One is called Philippine Outsourcing. It's a quick start guide, and it's offered on his site. If you just look around a little, you'll see a link to it. And you just click on a link, and you don't have to fill out any form, anything to download that guide. If you can't find that guide when you visit his site, let me know. I have it on my hard drive somewhere. I'll just give it to you. I prefer that you see. This is the URL to his to the front page of his site, and it's got links to everything he offers. But the first guide I ask you to download is called the Philippine Outsourcing Quick Start Guide, and it's free. Again, there's no opt-in or anything required to get it. He also offers a free download called Hire Your Own Filipino Virtual Assistant in 7 Easy Steps. You can get that from that last link I just posted into the window, which ends in 26. That's John's homepage. And for those of you who listen to the recording, I give you the slides and my slide deck. You can just copy and paste that link from the slide deck if you want to. And I'll also give you the transcripts. And so you can just copy and paste from the transcripts. But these notes will be, you don't have to worry about memorizing or whatever, losing the URL. I gave it to you. So again, that second thing I recommend you download is Hire Your Own Filipino Virtual Assistant in 7 Easy Steps. And you can hire some very talented people. Probably 20 to 30% of people working call centers right now are probably from the Philippines, where you call, your local Sears store to get your washer repaired, and the call is answered by someone in the Philippines sitting at a console, and you don't know the difference because their accents, some of them are not detectable, and the call centers in India, of course, a lot of us instantly recognize the Indian accent, but those are very good employees too, and the big companies outsource to them because they're reliable employees who are very educated, and they have checklists to follow, So anyway, download that report from John's site. And I personally have hired people from a site called onlinejobs.ph. The .ph is just an extension. It means the site is, it's for sites located in the Philippines. But John lives in Utah, or he used to anyway, and he owns a site too. This site is a jobs board where people go to list their skills and what kind of job they're looking for and how much they're looking for being paid, either by the hour or by the month or whatever. You can go to that site at onlinejobs.ph and register, and then there's a search bar. You can search your database for the exact talent and skills that you want. Be aware that those who've been doing certain jobs longer will ask for higher wages. So somebody who's programmer who's been doing programming for 15 years is going to ask us more than somebody who's just a recent college grad, but who is very good and maybe even knows more how to do some of the newer programming languages, So anyway, read the listings and look around. And when I visited the site today, actually, it showed there are 45,330 job seekers who signed up last month on that site. That's a lot of people. And there were 5,660 employers who signed up last month alone on that site. So a lot of people are using that site to search for virtual employees. A lot of virtual workers are using that site to find jobs. And all these people are supposed to be from the Philippines. So look around and see if you can find the job there. I recommend it. I mentioned pitfalls in hiring virtual employees. If you read those two guides I recommended to you, you're going to avoid most of those. But my rule is be slow to hire. That is, look at numerous people's resumes, ask them questions through the job boards if you want to. Ask them for references. Ask them to show you their portfolios or examples of websites they've worked on and things like that. But be slow to hire and then quick to fire. You're in business, and while you like being nice to people, don't let that keep you from firing someone who's slowing down your business, who's dragging down your business because maybe they don't know what they're doing, or there's something going on in their life that you don't have the time to deal with. So slow to hire, quick to fire is my rule. And I'm not ruthless. It's just that if you're not doing what I hired you to do, then you need to go find another job. And I often ask virtual employees I've hired for recommendations of friends or relatives that have other skills I need. And the reason there is because when you hire someone that's a friend or a relative of somebody else, if that new person that was recommended doesn't live up to expectations, they're letting down not only themselves and you as an employer, they're letting down the person who recommended them. So it's a matter of honor and of them not wanting to harm the person who recommended them for a job. So, that's why it's a good idea to ask someone you've already hired, can you recommend for me a good graphic artist or a programmer or somebody who does transcriptions or voiceovers or whatever, and you'll get some good recommendations from that, some good references. In almost 15 years of hiring virtual employees, I can only recall 2 problem children. One was I hired this guy. I hired him first to do just graphics, and then he came back to me and said, the website that you have me working on, he said that the website itself is out of date. You want me to redo the whole website? And I looked at it and thought, why not? And so I said, sure. He redid the whole website, not just the graphics, but the program and the coding using, up-to-date methods of pulling stuff in from other places. But what he did a beautiful job. But what he did was he hid a link in some inconspicuous place on practically every page on my website. And that link, which viewers to the website could see, was directing people to an affiliate product he was selling. So he was siphoning off my traffic and sending it to something he was selling, which, he's trying to make a little extra money. But when I noticed that, because I check my server logs regularly to see what files are being called, and I just look at my web pages after somebody's finished working on them, and I noticed that link, and I checked out what it was, and it was taken to a product that had absolutely nothing to do with the theme of my website, first of all. So he was doing a terrible job of targeting, but it showed he was stealing my traffic, and I thought, if he's stealing my traffic, what else underhanded is he's doing? And so I fired him. And the other person I hired to be my social media assistant, one of them, and her job was to read post on my social media walls and read post direct messages or private messages to me. To read them. And her job was to respond to certain messages or send certain messages. For example, I was working as a joint venture broker, and I would give her a message, and I would give her a list of people and say, log into my site, and then navigate, then using Facebook Messenger, there's a search feature. Search for these names, and when you find these names, take this message I pre-composed for you, paste it into the message box, and send it. And so she was contacting people on my behalf from my account using Facebook Messenger, and she was also responding to certain people on my Facebook wall. So she had my logins, and anything that she didn't know how to respond to, she was told not to respond to it, not to touch it. Well, she did a few things I didn't like, and I said, "You're not working out," and I fired her. Well, I said, "You're not working out. Maybe you're not cut out to do this." And when I let her go, for about 2 weeks, she kept coming back over and over and over again to my Facebook wall and posting, "Please, Mr. Willie, can I have my job back?" And I'm like, and I would delete her posts, and then she'd just keep posting, "Please, Mr. Willie, please, Mr. Willie." And I thought, people are reading her post on my Facebook wall and wondering, what the heck is going on? Who is this girl who keeps posting, "Please, Mr. Willie, give me another chance," and all that stuff. So those are the only two people that I've hired as virtual employees that were problems. And I understand the second one, sort of, she was making a decent amount of money and supporting. She was working from home, sitting on her patio or on the beach or whatever, watching her children and hanging out with the family, and just watching my social media, and saving me hours of time, and making me all places at all times, and I had to let her go. But she was very, very much worthwhile, because I was very, very busy on social media at the time. I'm not half as busy now as I was then. So, but those are the only two people I had to let go. And other than that, no bad experiences with virtual employees, but a lot of people who do have bad experiences with them, and a lot of the things that you can do wrong are covered in the 2 reports from John Jonas that I recommend that you download. Now let's look at cranking up the process of ranking your websites, and we'll do it in a way that makes them rank, and that's fairly easy to do, but a lot of times Google will rank a website. When it first spiders or index a website, it'll put it up near the top, and then over the next week or two, it'll evaluate that website relative to other websites that it's ranked with the same keywords, and it'll adjust where it shows up in the ranking. So we don't want to just rank up to the top today, and a week later we're on the 3rd page. And so that's why I say, we want to keep it ranked high for the long term. And I'm going to go into just some simple things you can do here to get your site ranked almost immediately. And from there, it's just a matter of Google looking at it periodically. The first thing you can do, and I think I may have already mentioned this to you, is you can post a short, like 1 to 5 minute video on YouTube, and you optimize this video, and I'll cover that. Even better is making several short 1 to 5 minute videos and uploading them to YouTube, but not uploading all of them on the same date. Each time that Google notices a new video on YouTube, and Google owns YouTube, Google's going to spider that video and look at the title and the description and the tags, and it's going to look at how many views it has. It's going to look at how long the visitor stays on a video. If a visitor hits a video, looks at it for 2 seconds and leaves, that says that the video was either misleading or there's nobody really interested in it. So they look at the interaction, so does YouTube, and they look at how many comments you have and things like that, how many shares. Those are all factors that the search engines, and YouTube is a search engine, how much people stick around. They look at those factors. Now, when I say video, I'm not talking about a video where you're sitting there and you're the talking head. You can be if you want to, that's fine. But if you don't want to, something as simple as a few PowerPoint slides, could be even like 1 PowerPoint slide where you're talking and showing the same PowerPoint slide, and the PowerPoint slide is maybe just showing a website or something, or a piece of software, and you're talking, and because of you talking, and it has both video and audio, you can upload to YouTube with no problem. You can't just upload audio, but something with a picture in it, it's audio, you can. So you can have just 1 or 2 slides or whatever, or 5 or however many you want, but just a quick PowerPoint presentation. You could also, using your web screen capture software, I use Camtasia. You can go to, or I could use GoToWebinar or Zoom. Go to a website, talk about a product like a piece of software or whatever is relevant to the theme of your website you have a rent is better. Talk about something that's got to do with that, and you can show them that website. You can show them your client's website even. You could show them whatever. You could, if your client's a pest control guy, you could have a few slides on the problems that termites cause, and you can show pictures of houses that were chewed into by termites. They're all over the internet, or if you're doing a chiropractor or a veterinarian, you put up some slides that show something about veterinarianism or whatever, and how pets need to be taken care of. But regardless, you're putting up videos that are relevant to your subject matter of the site you have for rent. And then you need to give when you upload the video, you need to give it a title. That title needs to contain your most important keywords, the keywords that you want your website to rank for. You want it in the title. Wydell asked if you should set up a YouTube channel for each website. I often do. Not for every website I do, but lately I've set them up based on a theme. And the reason is, well, if you do that though, each channel needs a separate email address, and it probably should be a Gmail address. And with that Gmail address, you log in, and Google, seeing that your Gmail address is tied to your YouTube account and tied to your maybe your Gmail account and any other Google properties, it makes logging in a snap. But yeah, I recommend having a separate channel for each website, if it's or at least for each specific niche. But I would do it for each website. And the title needs to answer the what's in it for me question. You need to explain to customers why they would want to click on that link and go watch your video. So it can't be something boring. It's got to be, I like how to do this, how to do that, because people go to YouTube asking, how do I do this? How do I grow this plant? How do I deal with this acre pain? How do I do this techie thing? So the how-tos work beautifully for me. And you sort of need to anticipate what the customer looking for the product that your rental site is about, what problem they're trying to solve, and you ask yourself, so what thoughts are going through their mind, as they're looking for, they're having a problem child that's misbehaving at school, and maybe they're suffering from some disorder that the doctors have given them Ritalin for or whatever, something to calm them down, and you're saying, I don't want to keep my child on this stuff. How do I calm my child down naturally? Well, you go to YouTube and you type in, how do I do this or how do I do that? Or you type in the problem you're looking for the solution to, and you want your video to pop up in the results. You don't want to trick people though. You want people who click on your link to go watch your video to find exactly what they're looking for or what they're led to believe is on that site. And that includes that's true for just regular search engine listings too. You can trick somebody to clicking through to your website by putting a misleading subject line or a misleading description or whatever, but when that person hits your website or they hit your YouTube video and they find out it's not what they were looking for, they click away right away, and YouTube and Google can see that. And they call that the bounce rate. And if somebody hits your web page or hits your video and they click away within seconds, that's bad. That'll come back and bite you, because Google or YouTube is saying, this person was obviously tricked, or they didn't find what they were looking for. They didn't find what they were led to believe they would find. And therefore, we're going to downgrade this video and make it harder to find, or downgrade this website and make it harder to find. So don't do that. That will bite you in the butt. Use a keyword-rich description when you upload your videos. I lead off personally with the domain name at the very beginning of the description. I put the full domain, HTTP or HTTPS:// and then the full domain name, whatever page I want them to land on. If I'm promoting an affiliate product, I'll use maybe a redirect link, but that link is going to let Google find the page that I'm pushing them towards. And then the rest of the description basically tells them, why this product is perfect for them and all this other stuff, answers the what's in it for me question. Again, don't fear making your description too long. Far too many people make their descriptions too short. See, the search engines, Google and YouTube, they spider or read every word in those descriptions. They may not display them all or whatever. I don't know how they score them, but they do read that entire description. And so, they're seeing all the words in that description. So this is your opportunity to fit in more related keywords. If you are familiar with latent semantic indexing, the search engines not only look at the keywords that are in your hyperlinks and things like that, they look at what else is in the text around the hyperlink. What else is that page about? What else is that video about? So this is your place where you tell them fully what else that video or what else that web page is about. So use that description. Type out something in text on a notepad or whatever, and format it the way you want it, and then just paste it in that field. And the other field that matters is the tags field. Think of tags as keywords. So YouTube now has changed their user interface, and there's a field you have to click on where it says more, and it tells you that those entries aren't required, but one of those entries is the tags field, and that's where you enter your keyword. So you enter a keyword and you hit return or a comma and enter every keyword you can think of that's relevant to your video, and that's how you leverage that. Okay, I didn't shut off my Facebook Messenger, and so something popped up that caused my screen share to pause, which is good. But use those tags, tell people what the video is about. You can post to boost your video. You can post comments and links about your target site or about your video on other sites, on other properties across the internet. So you can post about your target site on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, or any other social media site you have. All those sites are considered powerhouses by the search engines, but you can also share your video on all those sites, almost all those sites. And I do. You upload a video to YouTube, and you can click the share button and share it on Facebook and Twitter and a few other places. Some you can't share it directly, like LinkedIn. So I copy the URL for the video, and I go over, and then I type a description of what the video is about. And when I hit the enter button, or before I hit the enter button, LinkedIn is going to parse that link and show a preview on LinkedIn. So you do get a picture on LinkedIn, and that's how I share links on LinkedIn and a few other places. And I do that, something similar on Twitter actually. But you can click the link on YouTube directly and post to Twitter though. And on Facebook, I share my videos on my timeline. I share it within groups, and you can use that same share button over on YouTube and click share and pick a group to share it to, and then click share again, and I'll do that sometimes 10 times, sharing into different groups, different pages, and my timeline on Facebook. That's one way to share a video on Facebook. The other way to share a video on Facebook is to upload it directly to Facebook, and Facebook prefers that you do that, and so I do both. Facebook gives preferential treatment to videos that are uploaded to Facebook over videos that are shared from YouTube. Kathy asked, how many tags and target keywords can you use? I haven't seen a limit, but I'm reasonable. So if I'm doing something about first-time home buyers, I will pick 10 to maybe 15 terms. A lot of them 1, 2, even 3 word terms, and I'll use those for keywords. But it's as long as they're relevant, I feel okay using them. What happens is when somebody goes to YouTube and they type in a keyword, YouTube pulls up videos, shows videos it thinks are most relevant to those keywords. If you use ones that aren't really relevant, again, you're going to get a high bounce rate. People are going to go to your video, look at it, and say this is not what I was looking for, and YouTube is going to detect that. So I'd say a good number is probably 10 keywords. Kevin asked if I have any YouTube channels that I would recommend as a model or inspiration for us to use. Actually, the first YouTube channel I built where I shared videos about all kinds of things from, for me taking a walk through the forest and watching the animals and stopping and talking about how that reminded me of something that had to do with marketing to videos shot on cruises and things like that. But with those videos, I tied in, and I'll give you the link to that channel. I don't have it handy, but I tied in to almost all videos shared on that channel something to do with marketing. So I'm out in nature and I'm watching a river just flow, and I talk about the river and how it's flowing to whatever, and I tied that into inviting someone to flow over to visit me at a conference or a seminar or something, so it was me standing there with often with just my webcam or my cell phone videotaping me doing a selfie and with the river in the background, or sometimes I'd take my tripod down and I'd talk. I've done a lot of them on a nature trail that I hang out on a lot. I used to anyway. Yeah, I have a lot of different videos on that channel, and a lot of those are demonstration videos where, as an affiliate marketer, I was promoting a product and I would go over and demonstrate how the product worked, just showing the website. And again, in my description, I'd begin that description with my affiliate link, sometimes cloaked, but still, when they clicked on it, that's the most important thing I wanted them to do when they watch that video, is click on that link and go wherever I want them to go. But I want the search engines also to follow it, and then the title, of course, is going to tell the search engines who to show that video to. So that's the way I did that. See, Weidel asks, how long should the trial period and pay be for a VA? That's a good question. I'd say, depends on how much you're going to use, but I'd say 2 weeks. Tell them, I'm going to try you for 2 weeks. How much the pay should be depends on what they're doing and what they state they're expecting. Some of them will state fairly low prices, and that's what they expect. Others will state higher prices, seeing if they can get it, but they know that if they are too high priced, that they won't get many offers. And so they usually expect what they list in their listings. That site I showed you, I forget the name up now, the one with the .ph. I've hired a lot of people off of that site, including programmers, but again, most of the programmers I use are people I've known for a long time who are extremely, extremely good. And most of the programmers I hired were to create software for me exclusively that I then turned around and sold. Let me go to the next slide. I'm sort of winding down, I hope. When you set up that new site, one way to get attention to it is to, of course, blog about it. So post about it with live links, of course, from your blog, which is hopefully already indexed. So Google's already crawling your blog, Google's reading your blog, and if it's updated frequently, Google comes back all the time. You also want to configure your blog so that the blog aggregators, these are websites that pull links from all over the internet, and they sort them and say, here's a bunch of blogs on this topic, whatever. Google blog aggregators, and it will tell you, it will give you a list of a lot of different sites that aggregate blog posts. Then you go into your blog, and there's a field on your blog where you say, anytime I post, please ping these sites. And I don't have that handy with me right now, but you can say, anytime I post to my blog, notify all these sites I've updated my blog, and your blog will automatically do that. And all those sites will come over and take a look at your blog, and you'll have all these links from the blog aggregators pointing to your blog, which causes it to rank higher in the search engines. You can use press releases to boost the ranking of your web page. So you submit a press release announcing your new site or a new business or whatever, or if you already have the client, submit a press release announcing the new client's business or something about the client's business, and you can submit as many press releases as you want. Google loves news sites, and they used to treat press releases as if they were news. And so in the organic search engine returns, the SERPs, search engine results pages, Google used to show the news sites above all the other sites, including the paid advertising. and I don't know what, sometimes they still do because they consider that important. And so if you're on the news sites or if you have press releases out there, Google will show preferential treatment for those. And so what you're looking for, though, is the free press release sites. I have used PR Web, which is the very best of the press release sites, in my opinion, but they're not free. They're expensive unless you buy a package, of 10 or 20 press releases over some time frame. But even there, they're expensive. But what PR Web does that goes above and beyond is they look at the format and proof it and edit it and do all kinds of things to your press release prior to posting it. They call you and interview you about the press release. So they put an audio online, and they go above and beyond to get your press release noticed. And when I do a press release, my primary purpose is to get the search engines to notice it and to rank the sites mentioned in the press release higher in the search engines. But every now and then you'll get some newspaper or magazine or radio station or whatever to come across your press release, and they will notice it, and they'll contact you and ask if they can do a story on your interview or whatever. So press releases are very powerful. I've written over 5,000 articles in my online career, over 5,000, but I write very fast. And I drive down the street and I see some kids doing a car wash, and I can't read the sign and tell who the kids are that are doing the car wash, what they're raising money for. I go home and I write, an article about how your message may not be understood by people that just see it and it zips past them because it's just like a car wash. Or I wrote one about pelicans fishing. I think it was called "Are You a Pelican Marketer?" Talks about how a pelican dives with its eyes open to see its prey at fish, but over time it blinds itself and then it starves to death. Some of them, the older ones, because they can't see how to catch prey. So I put, are you marketing like that, where you're making sales up front, but you're killing your business in the long run, And I could today write an article in like 10 minutes or something like that. So I'm a very prolific writer, and often the very first draft is good enough to publish. Although I spell check and all that stuff, everything I write, and even most of my posts on some place like Facebook. But you can submit articles and posts you've written to. There's article directories out there that are spidered by the search engines, but they aren't given as much weight as they used to be because so many people are buying private label rights to articles and posting garbage without changing it, Or they're buying articles, putting them in what's called an article spinner that just changes certain words in the article, but it's the same article. And then they submit those to the article directories and the search engines, saying these article directories aren't providing a lot of value to its users, so they don't get as much. They don't have as much power as they used to, but you can still post to them, and you can be, in a very competitive niche, you may want to consider purchasing links. There are lots of sites that will sell you a link from their site, and they'll post you somewhere on their site with some important page, the link pointing back to your site, knowing that Google is going to spider their site and follow their site with a properly written link back to your site. And so that link will usually have your URL, and it will have what that web page is all about in the link itself. Okay. And that's what you're looking for there. It's not that hard to buy links. You just look for links for sale, or over on the Warrior Forum, there are people who sell links. So just look for that. But I only recommend that in like a really, really competitive niche where you just need a few more links to outrank your competitor. You can participate in discussion forums like the Warrior Forum I just told you about. The Warrior Forum allows you to compose what's called a signature file, and whenever you make a post on the forum, you can tick the box that says show signature, and it will post your signature, append your signature to the bottom of that post. And you can write your signature so that they're live hyperlinks. And I put here, you could even have a hyperlink in your signature that says this website for sale or for rent. And every time you make a post, just in joining in the discussion of anything on the forum, including threads that you start yourself, your link appears there, and Google does spider the Warrior Forum a lot. So because it's the busiest, most popular discussion forum of its time. It's for online marketers who want to discuss building a successful business. And like I said, some of them aren't very good at building a successful business, and those are unfortunately often the ones that spend the most time there discussing building a successful business. So be careful of the advice you take there. There was a time when all the leading online marketers that I know hung out there. That was their main hangout. Now they're on Facebook mostly. But what happened with almost without exception was anytime one of them went by and posted something, they got attacked for being a guru who charged too much. And, you know, who is this guy? They didn't know that that guy had been in business 10 to 15 years longer than they had. They were newbies who were just, you know, pontificating and didn't know what the heck they were talking about. And so they attacked the experts who visited, and the experts started to stop visiting the Warrior Forum. So be careful who you listen to there. But you can hire some very good workers there. You can join what's called a link swapping ring, where bloggers or people on social media, they agree to share each other's posts or links. And there's lots of those on Facebook, for example. They are usually private. You know, somebody will start one and say, if you share my post, I'll share yours. Or, hey guys, why don't we like each other's posts and share each other's posts, and you know, the ones that are share worthy and like worthy, and the people in the groups say, okay, we'll do that, and a lot of them will a lot of people will give what's called shout outs on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, or their blogs. And a shout out is just something that says, hey guys, go over and check out what Joe is doing. You know, Joe's running a special sale, or I really like, you know, the dresses that Joe makes, or the way Joe does a haircut or whatever. They're giving a shout out to a business in those cases. And people, you've got celebrities who sell shout outs. If you Google purchase shout outs, Google, when I Googled it as I was reviewing these slides, Google showed 949,000 results for the term purchase shout outs. Some of these are celebrities, major league athletes, movie stars, famous people, people who used to star in television series and things like that, politicians, who are selling shout outs either through a service or on their own. And you pay whatever their rate is, and they may have 1 million followers, you know, of some page on Facebook or Instagram, and they'll say, wow, I really like the way so-and-so, I really like this person's way this person does hair or whatever. And a certain percentage of people go over and check it out. Or I really like this person's book or whatever. It's like when Oprah used to recommend a book on her show, and that person instantly popped up on the bestsellers list, you know, the New York Times bestsellers list. And it's extremely powerful. So shout outs are a good thing to have. You can, you know, find these groups that swap off shout outs, but what you don't really want to get into is I'll promote your page if you'll promote my page, and it's like, and that's all you do is just keep promoting each other. That doesn't look very natural to Google. It doesn't feel very natural to your audiences. Every day you're posting about the same business. So if you join one of these groups, you know, pick certain businesses that are a match for the theme of your website or your blog or your Facebook audience, and you know, post about those every now and then. People will notice, and they will, you know, somebody in the group will post back. And I'm thinking about organizing one of these rings myself. I haven't totally decided to do it, but if I do, I'll let you know. But it's not much work. It's just, hey, why don't we all cross promote each other and do it in a subtle way? And so that's not hard to do. And I'm almost finished now. I put here the reality is that when you're competing for ranking on keyword phrases related to the city plus the niche, which is what I teach you should focus on, that phrase, and the domain name should be city plus a niche or niche plus a city. One of the questions I got asked is, you know, if you can't get Dallas acupuncture, Dallas chiropractor, and you can't get chiropractor Dallas, okay, then what about chiropractic in Dallas or chiropractic in Dallas, Texas, or some of those terms like that? Well, those terms that have, what do they call them? Well, they're modifiers, but like chiropractic in Dallas is not as good as Dallas chiropractor. But at the same time, it has your keywords in it, and it's going to show up in the search engine, just may not rank as high as Dallas chiropractor. So you want to aim for the city plus niche. But if you can't get that and it's that important to you, then go with something with a modifier in it. As far as a city name, if you don't need to type Atlanta, you don't need to have Atlanta, Georgia in your domain name. When people hear Atlanta, they automatically think Atlanta, Georgia. Businesses in Atlanta and people from Atlanta don't search on Atlanta, Georgia. They search on Atlanta. Somebody from Dallas or Houston or Boston, they don't type in Boston, Massachusetts when they're doing a search. They type in Boston. In fact, we all think only about our area, our world is where we live. And so when I hear, if I lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina, I wouldn't think there's another 10 to 15 Fayettevilles in the United States of America. And so when I'm typing in a search engine, I'm not going to put Fayetteville, North Carolina if I'm looking for a barbecue restaurant or a transmission repair shop in Fayetteville. I'm going to type transmission repair Fayetteville, or I'm going to type barbecue Fayetteville or something like that. And I'm not going to type Fayetteville, North Carolina. So when you're looking at a domain name, look for the ones that just put the city, but not the city and the state. Sometimes you can only find the one with the city and the state, like maybe I have some that'll have Dallas TX or something NYC, New York City. People do type those phrases into the search engines, but they don't type them as often. So ranking highly for those is not as valuable as ranking for the one that's just very, very tightly focused. Okay, you want to target the phrases in your domain name and in your search engine optimization that are the phrases people are searching on. You want to ask, what are they typing into the search engines? And for when you look at outranking somebody, fully 90% of the traffic is going to go. 90% of the organic traffic, the traffic's not paid for, is going to go to typically the first 3 positions on page 1 of Google. The free traffic, the ones who are buying pay-per-click traffic, a lot of your surfers know when it says sponsored ad that it's paid for ad, so some will skip right past those. But the number 1 position in the organic results is going to get typically 80 to 85%, maybe even more of all the clicks. And then number 2 will get to around 12% on average, 10, 12%. Number 3, 5%. And then all the other listings, all the other returns for that term gets all the other leftover traffic. People keep searching, and some will even go to page 2 or page 3, but most people will click on the top 3 to 5 results. So you're aiming to be in the top, okay? And often being in the top, outranking your competitor is nothing more than just having 1 or 2 more links than they do, or 1 or 2 doing something that they do better than you do. And there's software tools out there that allows you to analyze who's linking to your competitors, how many backlinks do your competitors have, what their keywords are, and all those things. I don't have a recommendation for a specific software tool like that. I'll ask you guys to feel free to type one into the chat window that you use, and and prefer. I don't find the need to use those very much anymore because I target mostly local keywords where the competition is just not that good, and so I don't need to use them. But you can, and so if you find that your competitor has 50 links and you've got 40 pointing to you, and he's got some from very high-ranked sites, news sites and things like that, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to that news site and either submitting a press release or just asking some site that's linking to your competitor to link to you. So here's a resource that your subscribers or your website visitors would find useful. Can I get you the link here? And some will just link to you out of the goodness of their heart. So it doesn't hurt to ask. And that's all I have for this week. Next week, we're going to do 2 things. We're going to build out your list of potential renters. Hopefully, as you've been surfing around, you've actually made a list of some people that would be the ideal renter for your website. And that's one thing I didn't delve into at the beginning. I meant to, but my slides weren't cooperating. I want you to go ahead and decide what niche you're targeting. I mean, everything that you're doing in this course hinges upon you deciding to pick a niche or several niches, but not too many at one time, because it just bogs you down, and you want to really dive deep into becoming an expert on one niche and how those people think and what they need and what the problems are that they face. So when you're dealing with those business owners, you're speaking their language. And then after you've mastered one or two or a few niches, then if you want to expand, that's fine. But I think it's better to dive deep into one niche. And I know some of you, from talking to you, have already chosen niches, but others haven't. So I want you to go ahead and decide. And if you want to, you can go to my calendar, and I'll paste that again in the Facebook group. You can go there and schedule a time to talk to me about picking a niche that because you can't decide on it. But as you're looking around at the competing websites and a lot of things, you're going to see other websites that, if you're like doing a directory style site, or even if you're not, you'll see websites owned by business owners who are your ideal people to rent your website. So you want to make a note of that business's name, their email address, their website address, and their phone number, and their mailing address. Just copy all those down from their website and put it in a text file, because you're going to be using those in the next week or two. And because what we're going to do is we're going to build out a list of potential renters, and I'll go over that, how to do that next week, and then I will go into a lot of different ways of contacting them that I use, because sometimes getting past that gatekeeper or getting their attention is just the hardest part, just getting somebody to look at what you have to say, because they get so bombarded with email and with advertisements every day. And with that, I am going to go to the question window and see what questions I have that we haven't answered. Kathy asked, how do we make decisions on how much we would rent out a website for? Do you do it by population, by doing a Google search in and charge based on a number of monthly searches? I don't base it on the monthly searches. That tells you how much competition you have, and that tells you, whether or not you even want to go into that niche if the competition is really, really tough. But it also suggests to you that maybe you don't need to target the specific keywords that are the really tough keywords. And so when you go local, then a lot of times you're not facing as much competition there. But what you charge is, I go to city-data.com and I look at the area, and I look at what the typical earnings are of the household earnings and per capita income, and I look at the education level, and I look at the cost of housing, crime rates, things like that for a specific city. And that tells me a lot. If it's a really rich city, then people can afford to pay more to that specialty doctor, or that even the car dealer or whatever. They can spend more on things like that, and so, or with a realtor. And so in those cases, it's worth more to that business owner, and that's what I base my pricing on. If it's some small town in rural Kentucky, and the average income is $20,000 a year, $25,000 a year, and half people are working in a coal mine, making way below minimum wage. Well, the working people can't afford to pay the business owners a lot, and so the business owners can't afford to charge them a lot, and they can't afford to pay you a lot. So that's what I base my pricing on. Dave says he would love a step-by-step checklist on constructing a directory style site. I'll get that to you. He says prefer HTML, not WordPress. So I already said I would get that to you soon. And William mentioned making a page similar to another and still traffic. You can look at a page that looks like the one you want, and you can model it. You shouldn't steal their page, but I certainly believe that if a certain structure, a certain type of page is working, there's nothing wrong with modeling that page. There is something wrong with stealing their HTML code, but modeling a page, I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. They've already shown you what works, and they've shown you what keywords to target probably. And you can go to what's called the Wayback Machine, which is at archive.org, the Wayback Machine goes through the internet from time to time, just taking snapshots of websites. And so you can look at what a website looked like 5 years ago and a month ago and 2 months ago and 3 months ago. Actually, what it does is it takes a picture of a website each time it looks at that website and saw that the website had changed. And from that, you can look at, okay, here's what the website looks like today, and you can go back and look at it 3 months ago or 6 months ago, and you can see what it looked like then and what they changed. And what that tells you is they may have tried something that you were thinking about trying that didn't work, and that's why they changed it, But the site's been the same forever, and that suggests to me that the site's working. And so I would model their site, and I would target some of the same keywords. Not necessarily stealing, but copying, modeling. People do copy. I've actually not paid attention to several domains where people went out, purchased the domain when I let it lapse, and copied my web page word for word and put it up on their site using my name, my picture, my testimonials, my story. And I thought, gosh. And there, I wrote to their web host and pointed out they were infringing upon my brand and things like that. And the certain web hosts don't want to deal with those people, those issues. And rather than back in their customers, they will just tell their customer they either change the site or take it down, or they'll take the site offline for them. And if that didn't work, I would probably go to that person's merchant account provider and say they're breaking certain laws, and I could get them shut down that way too. But people will copy your work if they think it is successful, and they'll sell. Yeah, Kathy, I was talking about backlinks when I talked about selling links. Share for share. Joe mentioned share for share. Okay, that's probably a site where you trade links or shares. You help other people, they help you, and you both grow. And that's all cooperation. I didn't mention specific pieces of software that you use for spying on the competition. I'll ask some of my friends who do this a lot. I mean, they spend all day, every day worrying about and spying on their competition and thinking who's linking to them and how many links they have and where are those links from. And, that's all they focus on. I focus on attracting the right people. First of all, I want people to find my websites who are buyers, who find exactly what they're looking for, and they're going to buy if they find what they're looking for, because they're searching for solutions to problems. And if you have the solution to problems, then they're going to stick around your site, and they're going to explore it, and they're going to buy from you. Kathy asked, do we have to wait until we have the website ranked before we contact possible renters? The answer is no. You can, well, depends on the website. I mean, if you have one that's like a perfect match for their primary keywords, you could say, this is what your business is all about, but you're using something else. Or even better, if you have one where the name of the website is the name of their business, but when they went into business, that ideal name, which was their business name, was not available. Someone else owned it. And so now you have that domain name. You go to them. It's a no-brainer for them to go for that, to either want to buy it or to rent it. But as long as you can show them that you're fairly well positioned in the search engine, and most sites will be ranked in no time, not always on the first page. You gradually have to pull it up sometimes, but not if you target keywords that are not as competitive. If you're targeting life insurance, that's one thing. But if you're targeting, I don't know, something that do with a family with young kids or whatever, or single parent life insurance, I don't know, whatever. If you're targeting something that isn't as competitive, but that when somebody types in that keyword in the search engine, they're looking for something very specific. Or you type in a location plus homeowners insurance or something, or a location plus mortgage loans or home loans. Someone looking for a home loan could really take out a loan anywhere in the country or anywhere in several countries, and the builder, the person selling the home, wouldn't really care. But most people think I need to find a lender in my hometown. That's just the way people's brains work, or in my state or my hometown. And so you target their hometown, but and the competition is less there typically than it would be if you targeted, first-time home buyer or a VA loan or something like that. So it's drilling down. It's asking where is there less competition. That's what I do anyway. I mean, you can target the most competitive keywords out there, but it's a fight to get to the top. So let me see. I'm not seeing any more questions. If you do have any questions, Kathy's asked, do you have any scripts on what to say when we go to email, talk to potential clients? Yes, I have suggestions, but I suggest at the same time that you put it in your own words. But yeah, I'll give you some scripts to say. I'll give that to you next week when we get into contacting people. What I say and what other friends say in emails, what they say in, some of us send postcards, we make phone calls, we post on their Facebook wall sometimes, but more often post to their Facebook profiles. And there's certain things you say, but if it sounds too practiced and too unnatural, that doesn't work nearly as well as just saying, hi, I'm a fellow business owner and I have a website that I think will be the perfect match for your business. And sometimes even just leave it at that and give them the URL and wait for them to come back to you and say, tell me more. And then you say, well, I'm offering it for rent or for sale, whichever you want to say. And you sort of go with the flow there. It's just one business person who sincerely wants to help another business person by giving them a website or giving them access to a website, useful website that's going to bring them more business. If you are honestly able to bring them more business, then you don't have to struggle. You don't struggle as much for words because you really have the other person's best interest at heart and you want to help them. And that's sensed in your messages to them. So yeah, I'll give you scripts to use. I'll give you the wording to use, but I strongly recommend that you use my word, model my words, but don't use my exact words because they sound like me, and you don't want to sound like me. So with that, I don't see any other questions. If you do have questions, email them to me or send them to me via Facebook Messenger, and I'll answer them. And if it's something that you think the entire group needs the answer to, feel free to post it in the Facebook group, and I will get the answer back to you. I thank you for tuning in. We will be back next week, same time, and this is number 4, so we have 2 more. Next week, I do want to get you started on contacting people, and some will respond to you right away, some won't, and so you need a list of, depending on the niche in the town and the size of the city and things like that, you may need a list of 5 to 10 people, maybe more, but I would start with the ones who are already working at getting traffic from the search engines. They understand the need for that better, and we'll take from there. We'll have a game plan, and we'll just step through it together. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end tonight's call. Again, feel free to reach out to me at any time. This is the biggest project, the most important project I'm working on.